For many people, becoming famous is a dream come true. Some people strive for years to attain it, while others happen upon it by chance. Today, we are counting down 10 people who only found fame after death. So let's go. Before we begin, be sure to hit that subscribe button and ring that post notification bell so that you never miss a video here on Now Trending. Number 10. Joyce Carol Vincent. After breaking into an apartment in North London, debt collectors discovered a horrific find. Surrounded by half-wrapped Christmas gifts, a decomposed skeleton lay on the sofa. Joyce Carol Vincent had been dead for 3 years and no one had reported her missing throughout that period, according to dental records. Carol Morley, a filmmaker, saw the article in an old newspaper while on the London Underground and wanted to discover more. She spoke with several of Joyce's friends and ex-lovers and used the interviews to create Dreams of a Life, a haunting documentary about Joyce. Number 9. Nick Drake. Nick Drake was an English singer-songwriter who debuted in 1969 with his first record. He suffered from depression, therefore he hardly performed on stage. Nick may have died from an overdose, and that was the last time anyone heard from him. After Drake's death, the record company that had discontinued distributing his music released a remix CD, and sales soon surpassed the 4,000 records Drake had sold during his lifetime. Number 8. Adrienne Shelly. The Broadway musical Waitress is uplifting, yet the sorrow underlying it may be hidden in the audience. The original 2007 film about Jenna, a pregnant waitress at Joe's Pie Diner, was written, directed, and starring Shelly. Shelly was found dead in her office, hanging from a shower rail before the film's debut. After the two had battled over noise from construction work, construction worker Diego Pilco confessed to killing Shelly. Sarah Bareilles' songs were prepared for a musical adaptation in 2013. The show premiered on Broadway in 2016 and is still running in theaters throughout the world. Number 7. Michelle McNamara. Michelle McNamara was a journalist with one goal: to track down a long-forgotten serial killer who had been roaming in California for decades. Michelle blogged about her research and dubbed him the Golden State Killer to revive the cold case. She spent years contacting retired cops and web sleuths to investigate his offenses, eventually landing a book deal in 2013. Michelle's first and only book was a New York Times bestseller and an HBO documentary. Number 6. Jonathan Larson. Larson, a New York waiter who aspired to be a composer, began writing hundreds of songs. Larson spent 7 years creating Rent, a groundbreaking musical set in New York's Lower East Side during the 1980s AIDS pandemic. The production was ready to launch in an off-Broadway theater on January 25, 1996. Larson became ill hours after the last dress rehearsal and died from an aortic aneurysm. Larson earned 3 Tony Awards and a Pulitzer Prize after his death. The show aired for 12 years before being adapted into a film in 2005. Number 5. Vivian Maier. In 2007, John Maloof was looking for a good deal at a Chicago auction. He paid $380 for the contents of a repossessed storage unit holding hundreds of negatives. Interestingly, Maloof processed the photographs and uncovered stunning and genuine portraits of street life by an unknown artist from the 1950s and 1960s. Maloof eventually discovered the photographer was Vivian Maier. Vivian left almost 100,000 negatives, which were all undeveloped and packed in. In 2009, she died penniless and alone. Vivian's photographs now sell for thousands of dollars and have been shown all over the world. Number 4. Kitty Genovese. Kitty Genovese was heading home late one night from her bar job when she was attacked and stabbed by Winston Mosley. Mosley escaped when her shouts awakened a neighbor, who shouted at her to leave her alone. No one came to Kitty's rescue or phoned the cops as she lay injured just yards from her apartment. Mosley crept back to the scene and killed her. It was 1964, and Kitty's murder made little impact in crime-ridden New York. By chance, police arrested Mosley for robbery a few weeks later, and he confessed to the killing. For many years, Kitty Genovese's name was associated with a cruel society. the publicity surrounding it led to starting of the 911 emergency phone services that are still in use today in 1968. Number 3. Stieg Larsson. In his leisure time in 2002, Larsson began writing fiction and created the Millennium Trilogy, which included The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, The Girl Who Played with Fire, and The Girl Who Kicked the Hornet's Nest. His works were accepted by a Swedish publisher in 2004. A faulty elevator forced Larsson to go 7 stories up to his office where he fell and died of a heart attack. Larsson's dark thrillers have sold more than 80 million books worldwide and have been adapted into blockbuster films. Number 2. Franz Kafka. He was infected with tuberculosis in 1917, but he continued to create short stories from his hospital bed. He requested a friend, Max Brod, to destroy all of his remaining papers shortly before his death. But Brod chose to share his writings with the public, and Kafka's tortured psychological thrillers are today considered classics. As a result of the stories that Kafka never wanted anybody to read, the term Kafkaesque, which means a nightmarish situation from which there is no escape, has entered the dictionary. Number 1. Vincent van Gogh. Vincent van Gogh is a well-known post-impressionist. His painting, Portrait of Dr. Gatchet, won at auction for $82.5 million in 1990, although he remained unrecognized during his tragic life. Starry Night, one of his most famous works, was inspired by his time in a mental hospital. In 1890, after years of ill health and hardship, he committed suicide. His art was inherited by his brother's wife, who began to display some of the 2000 paintings. So guys, you can let us know in the comments below what you want to see in the next video. If you're new to our channel, be sure to subscribe now and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. And finally, thanks for watching.